Good morning, everyone. Thank you, delegates, panelists, for joining this session before time. My name is Prasad Nair, editor of EPR magazine. Welcomes you to the interactive session on Atmanirbhar Bharat, fostering domestic electrical equipment usage. We have my colleague, Mr. Subhajit Roy, executive editor of EPR magazine, is here to introduce the panelists and moderate this session. I welcome Mr. Subhajit Roy.
Session. Tomorrow is 15th August. India will be celebrating its 74th Independence Day. And what can be an ideal occasion than this to discuss on the country's strides towards achieving self-reliance? Today, our topic of discussion is Atmanirbhar Bharat, fostering domestic electrical equipment uses. We feel glad to inform you that we have a very elite panel. I would like to introduce today's panelists. We have Mr. R.K. Chugh, President HIMA, Mr. Saurabh Goyal, President Havells India, and Mr. Sri Gopal Kabra, who is the Managing Director and Group President, RR Global. Delegates, we are sure that you are going to witness a thought-provoking session. At the same time, we would love to hear from you and invite you to put your questions, if any, for our panelists in the Q&A box. We will come back to you to answer your question at the end of the session. To take this discussion forward, I welcome Mr. R.K. Chugh, President, Indian Electrical and Electronics Manufacturer Association, that is IEMA. He is the Executive Vice President, Industry Interface, Energy Management at Siemens Limited. While he has been Executive Council member and Director on board IEMA since the year 2012, he is also the present Vice President in IEMA Executive Council. He is also representing his company and IEMA on CII's National Committee on Capital Goods. Today, he will talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign and what does it mean for India's electrical equipment industry. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. R.K. Chugh.
Very good morning, friends, and thanks, Subhajit, for an elaborate introduction. And I'm very happy to be with my co-panelists, stalwarts in their fields, Mr. Kabra, Mr. Saurabh Goyal, and thanks, Mr. Prasad Nair, also for having organized the session. So it's my pleasure to address the group today on a very, very important topic, I would say, called Atmanirbhar. What is it exactly? I mean, those who are not so good in Hindi, its literal meaning in English, if I have to say, is self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. So we keep wondering, I mean, is it really required in India? Does it make us protectionist in the globalized world? Is it going to take us away from the rest of the world? So answer to all these apprehensions is no. Actually, it is going to bring us closer to the world economy. Very, very integral part of the whole ecosystem in the globe. On the strength of low cost positioning of India and high quality orientation. And both these attributes can be further enhanced through Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is self-reliant India. India is not against foreign technology. We do need technology. We are also not against direct foreign investment. We do need that in big, big volumes. But of course, from countries who are geopolitically friendly to us. That is the change, what we are seeing in the recent past. And another factor which drove the government to come out with this beautiful initiative, I would say, is the compulsion that our local industry is not being used to its full capacity. If I talk of electrical industry, which I belong to, even before onset of COVID, it was in the range of 70% or so, which is really low. And now, last 5 to 6 months, it is anybody's guess, it could be in the range of 40 to 50%, which in any case is not healthy. So where is the question of allowing uncontrolled imports from a country, particularly from a country who is not friendly to India, and eat into our manufacturing capacity? So that was the background of this, that this initiative was launched by the government, and we as industry and association fully support it. So if we are able to increase this factory utilization in our industry towards 90% or so through additional manufacturing activity, obviously our cost competitiveness improves, and we are that way able to address global markets also, because we are good at quality in any case. And it is a circle. Once we start exporting more, we will learn their requirements or quality expectations even more. So there will be a motivation for our members to spend more on innovation, spend more on R&D. So all these things go hand in hand, but the first important thing is that we have to develop our manufacturing capacities and capabilities and its utilization. When I say capacity, there are still some items like in solar space, solar modules, cells, or even in electric mobility, there are some items which we are dependent on other countries in a big way. So these are the areas which we can really get into additional manufacturing space. And wherever we are already there we have to work together as an industry to stop imports, or even if some technology or product or service is to be imported, it should be from a friendly country. That is our message. Now, another thing actually which forced us into Atmanirbhar slogan and its implementation is the fragmented nature of industry in India. Here I am talking in totality. If I have to give you a broad statistics, we are 63 million enterprises in India. And you would be surprised to know that even as per the new definition of MSME, more than 95% of these 63 million are micro establishments with a turnover of less than 5 crore. And there are only 20,000 enterprises in whole of India whose equity capital is higher than 10 crores. So this is the extent of fragmentation in our industry. And here again comes the need or importance of self-reliant India, because these small establishments are hand to mouth. We cannot be exposing them to uncontrolled imports from other countries at artificially low price levels. Of course, we have to handhold them, but they have to be given a chance to come up on their own, improve their utilization, look after their employees, so that ultimately there is an improvement in per capita income, there is an improvement in spending, and that helps towards upliftment of economy. So these are the areas which we have to work together to make sure that Atmanirbhar Bharat does not remain only a slogan, but it actually translates into higher capacity utilization in our country, more manufacturing capacity in the products which we are not making, and improve standard of living of our people. At the same time, good news is that there is enough opportunities, particularly for electrical industry. Electrical and electronic manufacturer industry comprises of almost 55% of capital goods industry in the country. This is the importance of this. And a whole lot of initiatives from the government side are in front of us. As I said earlier, renewables is a big space, electromobility. Then recently announced amendment to electricity bill. This is under active consideration of government through state utilities also and state governments, wherein there will be more participation of private entities into distribution. So this is going to create a lot of demand for our industry. Then digitalization, I mean, all these new areas like electromobility, renewable, etc., cannot survive without digitalization and automation in power space. And above all, there is a national infrastructure plan in which there is a capital outlay planned for 100 lakh crores overall in next 5 years. And out of this 100 lakh crores, as high as 12 lakh crore is earmarked for power sector alone. We cater to power sector from our industry. So these are the items, areas where we can really focus on, apart from all the conventional stuff which we have been doing so far for the last so many years. We don't have to lose our hold there. We are exporting all those items. We should continue, rather capitalize on that through Atmanirbhar Bharat and enter into these new age areas, new technology areas, digitalization and all, not only for Indian users and other allied industries, but also for exports. We are in a very, very good, strong position to do that. So this would be my message, Subhajit and other friends. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Mr. Chugh, for sharing your thoughts on what is the real meaning of Atmanirbhar and what it will take to become Atmanirbhar in terms of, especially for the electrical equipment industry. Now, I take this opportunity in welcoming Mr. Saurabh Goel. Saurabh heads one of the largest and most profitable strategic business units, building segment for Havells. He is also a member of the executive council of the group company. Prior to Havells, Saurabh worked with Bharti Airtel Limited, where he had a successful stint of 13 years. He is going to talk about how to enhance domestic electrical equipment uses in the power sector in India and preparedness of Indian industry in the context of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So let's welcome Mr. Saurabh Goel.
Thank you, Shubhajit. Thanks for your kind words. And it's really a pleasure and indeed an honor to be representing your panel in amidst two stalwarts that are there of the industry, both Mr. Chugh and Mr. Kabra, who's actually a doyen, and many people have learned from him. So it's indeed a pleasure. Thanks, Mr. Nair, for having organized this. So Mr. Chugh beautifully put the what part of Atmanirbhar Bharat. What does it mean for our industry, right? What does it mean for our MSME industry? Let me spend some time on the how part. Before that, I will not assume anything and maybe speak a little about Havells in terms of what Havells is doing. Havells is about a 10,000 crore conglomerate with interests spread over industrial segment in core electricals like switch gears, cables, house wires, etc. Moving on to lighting, we produce entire range of lighting. And more recently into the consumer durable sector, where we completely cover the spectrum of brown goods through our fans, water heaters, geysers, appliances, and more recently, only about 3 years back, into a white goods segment through our brand called Lloyd. In both ACs as well as washing machines, and more recently, refrigerators. What's more important is that we are what we are, primarily because we produce these goods all across the country in about 14 factories of our own, and hence we have a complete command over our entire value chain and infrastructure. This brings in, this kind of entitles us, if with the permission of the both gentlemen, if I can say that we are the very embodiment of Atmanirbharta in this industry. I mean, the way our founder chairman and the company has gone about, it's actually the way Atmanirbharta has been played out in the actual arena. So when I said, let me talk about the how part, let me pick up 3 elements of Atmanirbharta, which possibly could have some learnings from for all of us who are, attending this session. And let me just, for the sake of, easy remembrance, use the words TQM. And TQM is not total quality, TQC actually, total quality control, but very close to that. What I mean is technology, quality, and cost. Actually, if you think of it, and possibly Mr. Chu will agree with me, is that why do we go for imports? 90% it is because we don't have a technology, or we believe that we will not be able to produce that consistent quality, or we feel it's impossible to get it at the scale and at the cost that is there. Hence, these become the 3 biggest opportunities also for us. So let me, elaborate on, one at a time. So let's take technology, for instance. Technology is something that you will have to invest in. You will have to have patience, and more importantly, you will have to have belief. And I have Mr. Kabra on the panel, Shri QRG, who's this thing, they had belief. I think probably belief comes first, and then, investment and patience. 60%, when 60% of the world's light sources were being produced by China, Havells thought it appropriate to produce lights in our Neemrana factory and export it to Europe, very quality conscious countries across the globe. More recently, 3 years back, we acquired Lloyd. We knew nothing about the white goods industry. It was completely new for us. We quickly, and at that point in time, it was 100% outsourcing, and probably, I don't remember, but almost 90% imports, right, of that outsourcing. We quickly learned the tactics of the white goods industry, which was completely core to us, and many would know that we are actually have a background into electricals and not into consumer durables. We learned that business. We learned the technological know-how, and kind of quickly set up a factory, which possibly some of you would have seen because it was covered by Discovery Channel as one of the rising examples of the most modern, ultra-modern factory, from where we have the capacity to produce an AC every 23 seconds. So it is actually possible. We can actually do it if we have a belief. We have close to, by the way, this wasn't easy. We have close to 200 engineers, or 200 more actually at the last count, who are working in our Center for Research and Excellence over various products, both on core technology, application technology, and maybe if I can add a third one, on design, because we have realized nobody buys very high technology products which are not good looking. So this would be my first takeaway in terms of technology, that we will have to invest in it. We will have to kind of believe in it. And technology and innovation both. Just 2 small examples are metallic fans. We brought in metallic fans at a time when metallic paints were used only in the auto industry. We brought in energy saving fans. So continuous investment in innovation and technology is a must. Let me pick up the second pillar of quality. Actually, quality should never come second. It should come first always. So it is actually the first pillar. Quality for us, and sometimes it is erroneously believed that Chinese products are low quality, etc. China has the capability of producing as per your pocket, right? And how they have done it is that they have, kind of produced, they have consistently invested on, kind of quality parameters in terms of, kind of having a complete control over their value chain. So in 2003, when we established, so we took that lesson and we said in 2003 we made a foray into the fans industry, and there were very well entrenched players at that point in time. We made a promise that we would produce only high quality fan and also very aesthetically superior fan, which meant that we had to have a complete control over our manufacturing, meaning cutting, pressing tools, molds, paint shop, quality measures, assembly line, everything. So we set up a factory. Now today it is the largest integrated fan factory in the country, which has a capability to produce 1 crore fans a year. And that provided us, because we had a complete control over the quality parameters. Wherever quality could go wrong, jahan bhi hame lagta tha ki situation can go wrong, we can easily regroup and plan. So quality would be the second feature. And third, if I can, and for the defense of time, I'll be quick on the third, is in terms of, which is very, very dear to all of us, and why we run to imports the maximum, is cost. Erroneously, sometimes it is believed that cost and quality are actually quality comes at the cost of cost. It is generally believed, but I would disagree with that. What China has done, or what many other countries have done, they have manufactured, they have perfected the art to manufacture at scale. What scale does it gives you the ability to produce smaller goods at a low price. But they could do it because there was a state-sponsored, subsidy, etc., that could be given. How Havells have done it is, you would remember that switchgear is very close to our heart, and all of you, many of you are in that industry as well. We brought in the technology from the Europeans, and we worked very hard in a matter of few years to completely indigenize that product. We completely indigenized that product and set up a state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Baddi. And what we did was and this is the overall philosophy of Havells. What we do is we plan for scale. We, kind of negotiate for scale, but we don't invest for scale. So let me just clarify this. What we do is we have an arrangement with all our vendors, etc., where we say that this is our plan. Our facility is big enough to accommodate whatever units that need to come in. And we plan for scale, but man and machinery, two big costs of manufacturing, we kind of invest in as is various basis. So today, when we came out of COVID, and thanks to, some of the uplift that has happened, our switchgear factory, which was producing, let's say, X number of poles before COVID in the month of February, we are ready to produce 2x number of poles, and already there to become the lowest cost manufacturer in the country. And before anybody asks the question, with a quality measure or quality service cost lower than the best, because we have people from other multinationals as well, who are competing in this space. So what I'm trying to say, unlike multinationals, we do not go for an ROI based, very strong business plan. We make a business plan, but we invest, which can be scalable. And hence, again, Mr. Kabra is there. He would know that the wire industry, when it came out of, COVID, the way it is growing today, from our same Alwar plant, it's a 270 meter single line plant. We can produce 50% more, and we are required to produce 50% more than we were producing pre-COVID time. So technology, quality, and cost. These are the three things which I would implore very, very strongly, all my manufacturing friends who are there in the audience, to lay a very, very important, no shortcuts will work. And that's the time, Atmanirbharta will work for India. And I would say, which, kind of is actually our dream. We will be Atmanirbhar, manufacturing for the world. So with that, Shubhajit, back to you, and we can have more questions, but this is what I thought would be very important for the audience.
Thank you so much, Mr. Goyal. It was very enlightening thoughts what you shared with us. So now I would request Mr. Sri Gopal Kabra, Managing Director and Group President of RR Global, to share his thoughts. Mr. Sri Gopal Kabra is a business leader, philanthropist, and global entrepreneur, often recognized as a trendsetter in the industry. He is the Managing Director and President of RR Global. That is a $850 million US diversified group of industries focusing mainly on infrastructure and electrical solutions, spread across 85 countries globally. Now, Mr. Kabra is credited to being the first to introduce the wires and cables industry to low smoke zero halogen cables with Unile core technology, that is popularly known as UCT. That's a unique product, and that is virtually fireproof, enhancing the safety standards, which has helped his company to propel the brand to even greater heights. Today, Mr. Kabra, he will enlighten us about why the domestic manufacturers in India should focus on quality while developing import substitute products in the context of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Sri Gopal Kabra.
Thank you so much for my nice introduction. We heard Saurabh Goyalji and Chuk Saab. So when I was IMA president, we started electrical fire safety seminar. The biggest challenge in our country is of quality, and especially in electrical product. Many companies, many people talk about the quality, but India needs a very big focus on quality. We are far below than the global standard in many of products. So I can start with the wire, then we can talk other subject also, like in wire. Unfortunately, see, BIS, CA, and NBC, they need to work very strongly. Like in the wire and cable, we have a now class 5 conductor. Because of that, the power consumption is going high, and it's absolutely technical, no tried product. But what BIS did mistake, that in panel wire and building wire, they put in the same category, and everyone taking advantage of this. So if these things are happen, how can we talk about the Atmanirbhar and electrical safety? See, in fire, every day, it's a government statistics from 2001 to 2014. Almost 52 people died every day. So this is second highest death after the road accident. So this is a big challenge, but no one is bothered. If you ask the consultant, they approve many brands. If you look into a contractor, they use the cheapest. Like, see, we are the first company to make LSH wire, and it took us to 19 years to get a BIS approval. Why didn't we get a BIS approval? Because BIS don't have the technical facility. And right now also in their product, there are two products. One is thermosetting and one is cross-link. And both are approved in BIS. So if you make a good quality, you got same standard. If you make a cheaper quality, you got the same standard. So these are the biggest challenges in India we have, because the government does not have the testing facilities. Why the consumers suffer and why the good quality companies are suffering. Worldwide, if you look into that cable and wire industry, the REACH compliance is mandatory. In India, how many companies are producing 100% REACH compliance? If you look, you can count on the finger, which are 100% REACH compliance. So we are far below and far behind the global standard. Same thing if you look into that winding wire or copper bus bar. Still, in copper bus bar, people say that 95% of copper bus bar produced in India, which used in panel board and transformer and used by all multinational companies are from commercial copper scrap. So there will be a conductivity issue, there will be a safety issue, but we are silent. Same thing in winding wire. If you look into that Sahadra in Delhi, with 35% of enamel wire is manufactured in Sahadra without bill, without electricity, and no quality control. So these are the basic challenges are in India. My worry is, see, we are today all are happy with the announcement of government of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Government is very strict on import from China because I can take them from China because others are company got in China. I don't have any company established in China, so I can talk very openly. And as it is, I am a very blunt speaker, but people are very happy today. But I see a bigger challenge in future when many European companies or companies from Eastern Europe or countries like Turkey, which are the very strong in electrical business, when they will come to India, and if our friends, especially MSME and few mid-sized companies also, they don't produce quality, and the demand will be there for quality products, what will happen to them? And if really India is looking, or Indian electrical industry is looking to go into big way to export, where government is very much focused, but are we ready mentally? Because see, in any company or any factory, you cannot have two standards. Either you make export quality different and local quality different. I don't think this is possible because a mindset of a person is same. So this is a big challenge. India, but opportunity in India is very high. I'm very positive. We Indians can go globally much better way than the other multinational companies are doing because we got a lot of energy, we got a lot of what you call risk-taking ability we have. But ultimately, we need to focus on electrical, safety, quality, packaging. These are the major issues out there. Like NBC has given a guideline. See, basically in India, all the NBC, CA are the guideline. Implementing body is BIS. Then RERA. If you look into like biggest mistake has done by BIS, it is quite surprised. I'll request Chuksab, he's an IMA president, that he should take this matter in fire alarm cable. They specified aluminum conductor. And in fire alarm, when fire takes place, the heat temperature 850 degree and aluminum melt at 650 degree. So what is the use of this fire alarm cable? Now NBC has made mandatory that in common area of the building, they should go for fire survival cable. But nobody is using. See, we talk about quality, we talk about safety, but in real estate, because see, we do India's biggest real estate award for last 13 years, RR Kabel CNBC awards. But nobody is focused on quality because electrical is a least priority for the developer, for the architect. Now companies are putting PMC companies, putting an electrical consultant, but it's a big challenge. If you look into, like, for example, we got a bus duct factory in Dubai, which is a replacement of cable. Now, bus duct consumption in Dubai, only in Dubai itself, is more than 1,000 crores, and for entire India is around 200, less than 200 crores. Because worldwide, in commercial building or high-rise building, it's a mandatory, in spite of cables, they should use bus riser. But India still use cable. So I think there are a lot of opportunity of improvement in terms of quality, in terms of safety, because this is a big loss to the nation as an economy, as a safety of the people. Like see, LSH wire. Worldwide, if you look into all the commercial building and high rise, it should be a LSH wire. But still we use PVC wire. In India is the only country where the wire is called FRS wire. Not even a single country in the world which is FRS wire. Unfortunately or unfortunately, one company started 40 years before in India, and everybody is following FRS. FRS is what? It's a modified PVC. And I want to give this message from this platform. If at all anything is dangerous for fire, is PVC. Ideally, worldwide, the PVC should be banned, especially in domestic use, because people dies in fire, not because of fire, but because of smoke. And smoke comes from PVC. So because of PVC, when there is a smoke, whether it is a case of Upar Theatre, whether you take the Surat coaching classes fire, whether you take a fire of in Amri Hospital, Calcutta, any fire, people dies because of smoke. So it should be taken care very specifically. And I request all the company also, they should talk very fairly when they do the marketing. We have the other companies, what they make and what they claim. Even on commercial TV or newspaper or magazine, that's also be challenged. So we need to be very honest to our country, honest to ourselves, honest to our citizen. These are my message. Even in like transformer, you look into global standard, you look into local standard. Except motor we are doing very good. We are as far as the global standard. Fan we are doing as per global standard. Lighting we are doing as per global standard. But the most of other things like transformer, wire and cable, still I can tell you here in India, companies and consultant and contractor together and authority people, they put tender for FRS cable, they supply PVC cable, they put label on FRS cable, and everything is approved. So these are the big challenge. I request on this platform, consultant, contractor, approval authority, government, and manufacturers. Please be honest for the quality. Ultimately, safety of our country people is in our hand. And same way the contractor, the L1, the price consciousness is very high. It should be a quality consciousness. It should be more in our philosophy as our factory, as a group. Our single line punch line is quality is not to be discussed. Till that we don't achieve to this level. Wherever we go, whether we go to our vendor, where we go to customer or anywhere, this should be a thumb rule, or it should be a part of our DNA that anywhere we think that quality is not to be discussed. Till that time, we keep talking about the Atmanirbhar Bharat, but I don't think so that Atmanirbhar Bharat से भी ज्यादा पावरफुल ये होना चाहिए कि हमारा देश इलेक्ट्रिकल सुरक्षित कैसे रहे, उस पर ज्यादा ध्यान होना चाहिए, क्योंकि हम तीनों इलेक्ट्रिकल के लोग ही हैं. तो उस हिसाब से सबसे पहला हमारा प्रायोरिटी होना चाहिए आत्मनिर्भर के साथ साथ ईपीआर मैगजीन भी इलेक्ट्रिकल पे ही है. तो हाउ कैन वी क्रिएट ए कैंपेन on electrical safety? That should be a main core agenda of this conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kabra. You have raised a very serious concern about what kind of quality standardization is being followed in India, and why we should be focusing more on the safety aspect rather than merely talking only about self-reliance. So thank you so much for sharing your valuable thoughts. And definitely we would like to address this topic even in our future editions as well. Now I received the first question from Mr. R. Anand. He is representing Zeev Automation India. So what he is talking about that what needs to be done to change the mindset of the end users in terms of increasing acceptability of make in India product. That's what, if I have correctly interpreted it, question. So
thank you. Good question. Actually, this is the core of the problem, I would say. Till such time we ourselves are not convinced that we have to go for self-reliant or Atmanirbhar Bharat, nobody else, no politician, no leader can help us into that. This is a self-realization, and we really have to have a Swadeshi or nationalist feeling for this. Instead of focusing only on our own business, we, at least for some time, should look at the things in totality, whether it is good for our country on the whole or not. I am aware, being head of an association like IMA, we have members from uh, some products which are raw material for another group of members. So there is always kind of a tussle or competition or alignment between the two sides. Like EPCs have all the attraction to import if the things are available from outside at a cheaper price. Of course, there are some compulsions that some items are not available in India, they are forced to import. But if these items are available in India, even at a slightly higher price level for some time, they may not affect our profitability to a large extent, maybe to the extent of 0.1% or even less of our balance sheet profitability. But in case we give them a chance to source these locally, it will have two advantages. One, we help them to improve their factory utilization. Second, we help them to grow more competitive, because if factory utilization improves, obviously their cost of production per unit goes down. And so it's a process, I would say. We may not be able to achieve the results in a week or in a month or maybe 2 months or 3 months. It might take a little longer depending on the product we are talking of. But as an industry, as a nation, we have to support each other. The day we get that feeling in our heart and mind, I think we will be successful. And from our side, from association side and from our respective companies side, we are aligning our acts together so that all of us talk the same language. Within EMA, we have agreed upon kind of a code of conduct for usage of local items and reduction of imports. So we have already started with this exercise. I am sure slowly, gradually, it will get over the mindset also. So that would be my response.
Post-independence, the concept of self-reliance was a kind of import substitutions. And how this Atmanirbhar Bharat is different from that particular concept.
Actually, Shivajit, my whole talk was about how to give this feel to Atmanirbharta, which should not be, as Mr. Chugh also alluded to, it should not be about import substitution. It should come from within. It is a very, it's a doctrine. I would like to say it that way. It is like religion. You, jaise Kabra Sahab ne kaha about safety, it is religion. Even today, it is so difficult to, for people to realize they would make a beautiful house spending lakhs and lakhs, but use the cheapest quality of wire. So, the point is it has to come from within in terms of how we can, kind of change this to. So Atmanirbharta to me is not about, import substitution. It is about the pride of producing something which is competing with the best in the world. That should be the overarching thought. And then finance and commercial, obviously nobody can sustain without, low cost and without costing and all that. You have to start with that pride first, with that thought that you have to produce something which is best in the world, which can compete with the tables of Europe and US and wherever you feel the quality is, measured in the right manner. And then, come up with, as I had, kind of alluded to, technology, quality, and cost. If you were to look at it in these brackets, that is the time real Atmanirbharta comes. And I would want to make that distinction between the Atmanirbharta of, let's say, right after independence, or when Nehruji started this philosophy, or, import substitution, etc., to today's Atmanirbharta. Today, it is a connected world. We cannot survive in isolation. I mean, maybe we are surviving because of COVID for a little while, but I'm saying, it is impossible to survive in this connected world, being in the cocoon. आप कूप मंडूक बन के एक कुएं के मेंढक बन के नहीं रह सकते. You have to interact with the world. You have to still buy from the. अब जैसे resources आपके यहाँ नहीं है, आपकी country में resources नहीं है, वो या तो आप innovation से वो resources ही खत्म, वो that ingredient, you know, you substitute that, or you buy the cheapest and the best from wherever it is available in the world. Right. So it is very different from import substitution, and it should not be understood in that light.
What sort of unique standardization you suggest for wires and cables? That question was directed to Mr. Srigopal Kabra. If you can just tell us.
See, for wire and cable, we suggest like either IC code or BASEC. See, in UK, BASEC is a organization which only is for wire and cable. Like, see, India, we got BIS. BIS does only from motor to anything is a BIS. BIS is the ISI. But in UK, there's a concept called BASEC. They are only for wire and cable. So they got 45 people team. They only focus on quality certification, and there are only 40-45 companies of the world which got a BASEC approval. RR Kabel is one of them. So, but and then see, everyone knows like LOSH wire is the most safest wire among the other wires. So that should get an BIS at a very high level, and that should be a mandatory by CA and National Building Code. For at least for, I don't say for each and every building, because most of the buildings are at a 4,000, 3,000 square feet, but then which are the high-rise building and commercial building, and commercial offices, banks, everything, it should be a mandatory. For this, regarding the fire alarm cable, nowhere in the world, it's a aluminum conductor. It has to be copper conductor for this. And then again for building wire, which is we call it a house wire. First of all, what is flexible wire itself is a wrong product, but then still okay. But minimum should be a class 2 conductor for installation. BIS is written in the small word. For installation, it's a class 2. But in BIS, this IS 694 is same for panel wire, same for building wire. So all the manufacturers, consultant, contractor are misusing of this lacuna. So in BIS, they should have a separate number for panel wire, IS694, or either they can be 694A or B, or they give a separate number. Same thing for LOSH wire. It is the number which they are given. Whether you make a thermostating or cross-link, it's same. So and cost difference around 7%. So it's a lot of confusion out there because there is no clarity in terms of standard in India. So that's why I see people, why is the people import now? Because they don't trust on local standard. This is a big challenge. So if you want to really looking for Atmanirbhar, they are looking for safety, then our standards should be so high, so strict. See, I tell you, the mineral water, there is a lot of restriction out there, which 1% of the population drink mineral water, that also occasionally. And you got a lot of guidelines. And electrical product, whether I come to Subhajit your house or you come to my house, I need to be careful of electrical safety. So these are the electrical are big challenge, and wire and cable industries, there is a huge scope. Still, good companies are importing so many material. Why? And there should be a lot of restrictions. To like say, REACH compliance is anywhere in the world. You go to Europe, your REACH compliance. First they start with ROHS, then REACH compliance. Here we don't have anything. So there is a huge difference in terms of standard in India and Europe. See, for any electrical industries, Europe is a benchmark. Electronic, it can be a software in the US, but electrical industries, except 2 companies, GE and Eaton, all the companies, Schneider, Siemens, Legrand, ABB, you name the company, Philips, all the companies are from Europe. So best way to follow the European standard is the best choice.
Do you suggest that even building authorities of India, CREDAI, associations like CREDAI, then you represent Wires and Cable Industry Association, as well as you were the past president of IMA. So do you suggest that all these associations should come together and create a kind of roadmap or standardization policy for the government to?
Yeah, see, CREDAI, they talk, but I know the builder very well. All of my good friends. But they are not focused on quality. Honestly, I can tell on open platform. But the authority, IMA can take active part. Then NBC can take active part. Then RERA. RERA is a localized. So if you go to RERA, these are the 4-5 authorities. Central Electric Authority, I made Central Electric chairman also. They say we understand. I shown the sample. We agree, but then because of lockdown, I'm not there. But then lot of inferior products are available in India, and most of the products are manufactured in Delhi in wire and cable. Sadra is area whereby maximum copper products are made in 2 number. 2 number में पूरा without GST without ये बनता है, और सरकार कुछ नहीं कर रही है. इसमें GST का लॉस भी है, लोगों का सेफ्टी का लॉस भी है, और पावर का बिल भी आ रहा है. आई एम टॉकिंग ऑन ओपन प्लेटफॉर्म कि शाहदरा में वो 5 किलोमीटर का स्ट्रीट पे जैसा वेगास में कैसीनो है, वैसा पूरा का पूरा कॉपर का 2 नंबर का काम चलता है और कोई भी कुछ नहीं कर रहा है. इट्स अ बिग चैलेंज फॉर आवर इंडस्ट्री. वहाँ डुप्लीकेट माल भी बहुत बनता है. This subject I raised to Piyush Goyal also when he was not Commerce Minister in last ministry, but when he was there, I could not visit there. But then we'll take this subject from IEEMA. Also, we should take subject and from all the platform. If we stop this Sadra area, the government GST revenue will also increase, and the electrical safety problem will be also solved.
That the Ministry of Power has come out with 2 orders in July regarding the cybersecurity checking of embedded malware trojans in imported hardware. Unfortunately, no methodology for such checking has been clarified, and there are no known standards, no known testing labs, etc. While the intention behind the order is well understood and respected, such arbitrary orders create a situation of panic for genuine and reputed suppliers who buy components, modules, etc. from international principals in Europe or other countries. So how is IEEMA addressing this topic with the Ministry of Power to make the order pragmatic and implementable? So,
no, it's a very valid question. Normally, what happens is that in our eagerness to solve one topic, normally we move from one side of the pendulum to the other. So probably this is what has happened in this case. Government, in its very right intention, has put an embargo or put a restriction that any electronic product or automation product or solution, if at all it is to be imported, first we need not import, but if it is to be imported for certain reasons, then it has to go through local testing. And as our friend mentions, there are no guidelines. So we have already taken it up with Ministry of Power at various levels, including up to the secretary and minister level, that the labs which are available today in the country, namely CPRI, ERDA, are not really adequate and not equipped to handle this kind of a requirement. So what needs to be done? So there, in fact, while I'm talking here, a parallel meeting is taking place with my colleagues, with the concerned people on this topic. So we are hopeful of a solution. Please, I would urge our members and our friend to come back to us with some suggestions, because what we find, there is adequate capacity with individual large companies, many of the multinationals in particular. If we can convince them to give that testing resource to the industry at large or to the government, of course, on a commercially agreeable basis with an arm's length principle, will it work? This is one suggestion we got from a fellow member. So same way, there could be some other suggestions also, but we are aware of this situation. There are some electronic test labs in the country owned by government. That also we are aware of. So we have also suggested to the government, why don't you allow those electronic test labs to do this test job? So it is a matter of time. I think we will find a solution to it. But my request once again, if you have some workable suggestions, please feel free to revert to us. We will take it up with the right people and get it implemented.
So just to add to this question, Mr. Chugh, do you see any kind of roadmap or even creating a kind of association with the technical institutions like IITs and all?
They also have capabilities to hold, but how much they have capability, but how much capacity commercially they can offer, that is a question which we are exploring. They might be doing it as an R&D or educational exercise,
Right.
But whether they can cater to the load coming out of the import of software, I'm sure with passage of time, this load will reduce, because there is hardly anything which we cannot do in India. So, but in case some imports have to take place from European countries or our other friendly countries, they are welcome, because as my fellow speakers also mentioned, we are not against import of technology. What we are against is that manufacturing should not happen outside. So we want technology to come inside, we want investment to come inside and produce that in India. So for that, we are open for certain type of software, certain type of components, at least for some time to come. So we will address this together with the government. So let's see.
Questions are being flooded for Mr. Chug. One more question from Mr. Bimal Mandru. He's writing that echoing points mentioned by Mr. Kavra, what can we collectively do in IMA to encourage greater compliance to IEC standards and eventually start to influence IEC standards?
Very good
Mr.
question.
Chug again.
I think I should invite you to answer this, your own question. You are an authority on IEC. Incidentally, Vimalji is our past president also.
I know.
So we have been holding combined sessions at various levels as to how IEC should play a bigger role. Vimalji, I just remember just before the onset of COVID, sometime in the month of end February or early March, when we had already started shying from shaking hands, we were doing Namaste. We did that with each other. So that was also one such session where, which was focused on propagation of IEC standards. In fact, you had invited me over there. So we are taking it up at various levels, and we will continue doing that. Unfortunately, there is no speaking facility for the one who asks questions. Otherwise, I would have invited you today. But certainly, we will touch base with each other. Point taken. It's a very, very valid question that why only one set of standards, why not others? I mean, together with BIS, IEC is already playing a big role, but we can certainly make it even bigger, and it will help BIS in the bargain.
Yeah.
They will learn something out of it through global practices.
Yeah. So,
Yes,
Mr.
thank
Chug,
you very much, Mr. Nair. I have accepted your request. I totally echo what Chugji has just mentioned, that IEC standards actually are forming the basis of all global trade. I don't know if IMA members or our listeners are aware of this, but all WTO negotiations are based on standards coming from IEC, ISO and ITU. ITU for telecom, ISO for management, and IEC for technology-based standards. With this kind of change taking place in our operating environment, I think if we really want to export, we have no choice but to work with standards coming from these three organizations. So the more the industry aligns to IEC standards, and BIS starts absorbing more and more IEC standards, I think that would be the direction we will need to take. I'd be very happy to further elaborate should there be another platform. But I wish IMA the best in this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Vimalji.
And I guess this was more of a discussion on the standardization, and definitely if we would invite Mr. Vimalji to take our invitation and being a panelist in our next session where we talk exclusively on the standardization as a subject. Thank you so much, Vimalji, for being here for some time. And there are many questions as well, but there are paucity of time, as I said earlier. So thank you so much, panelists. We had a very terrific time on this webinar. Hope our delegates have also enjoyed it. It was indeed an interesting session to understand how domestic electrical equipment manufacturers can seize the opportunity in current market scenario. So before concluding this today's session, we would like to thank our elite panelists, Mr. R.K. Chug, Mr. Saurav Goel, Mr. Srigopal Kabra for being a part of this session. Wishing you all a very happy Independence Day and Jai Hind. Thank you so
Jai
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.